G'day legends, my name's Coltz. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 4 things that they could alter or change about Modern Warfare 2 DMZ that would potentially make the game a more fun and a possibly more successful game in the looter shooter extraction type genre. Now these suggestions are not only just from myself and ideas that I came up with, but I also asked my Discord community, I asked my community in chat, and I asked some of my other creative friends that are also playing the game pretty avidly. The first suggestion I reckon they could change or alter would be to add an economy to the game. This could potentially bring like a higher value to the loot. Maybe there's unique blueprints that could be purchased on like a marketplace or a trading forum where people could trade back and forth, things like that. A game that did this recently, which was really cool, was Dark and Darker. It's an extraction looter shooter in a medieval setting. In this game, there was basically like a trade channel where you could go in and say looking to buy and looking to sell and things like that. And you know, they could even add that into this. If not, they could do a flea market style like Escape From Tarkov. Who knows, the possibilities are endless. You could even add in some armor packs, contraband attachments, you know, not to go as far as buying a unique blueprint, but imagine if there was a way to purchase attachments for your contraband weapons that you get. So let's say you get out with a base level AK-74U. There's no way to obviously edit that currently in the game, but if you were to potentially go on a marketplace, you could buy specific contraband attachments that were able to go onto that weapon. Maybe even adding in like a trade system with the factions, similar to the Cycle Frontier and Tarkov. I would probably liken this game a little bit more to the Cycle Frontier than I would to Tarkov, with the whole faction side of things, the way it plays with the AI, etc. And I would imagine that if there was to add in some sort of system to sell and trade with or barter even with the traders from different factions within the region, that would be really cool, and you know, only enhance the game and give people a little bit more reason to grind for stuff. The next thing that they can potentially add to the game is a crafting system, whether this is for crafting things like armor plates, armor rigs, gas masks, maybe even like a lock break kit. You know, let's say that in a raid you're unable to get a key at a time and you'd like to access a building. If you could find the items and put together like a lock break kit, like a makeshift one, maybe like a plastic explosive of some form to blow the hinges off the door or locks off the door, things like this. These are all little like changes, and whether or not they'd be, you know, in the actual game or back in the menu, just potentially adding a crafting system of some form that's not too carried away would enhance the experience. It doesn't have to be super in depth. Just some form of crafting in the game I think would definitely enhance it for sure. The third addition that they could add to the game that would potentially enhance the experience would be an improved stash system. Now I know there is a current stash system where you can stack up to 20 contraband weapons, where obviously you take them out of raid, they go into your contraband spaces, you can swap them out and remove them, delete them, things like that to fill whatever 20 you like in there. And obviously if you take those guns into raid, you die with them, you lose them, and you can replace them with other ones that you pull out of raids, etc. There's also a space for keys for specific areas, and the same thing goes, obviously you take those keys in, there's no secure container like there is in Tarkov or anything like that, so taking those keys in, you die with them, you lose them, but you can stack up like a fair amount of keys in your little stash. That's all well and great, but I really think that if there was a way to maybe stash some other items, what could even be attachments, weapon attachments, crafting items to craft attachments, or armor plates or rigs. I mean, for example, even if you were to look at the 3-plate armor rigs, a way to stack those would be really cool, like to build up a bunch of them to be able to take into raids, but not so much so that it was easy to do every raid and everybody had one. Maybe even that would sort the loot table, that would affect the loot table, and let's say the 3-plate armor rigs would maybe be a little bit more rare then and highly sought after, sort of similar to when you take like a slick or a hex grid into a raid in Escape From Tarkov, a really high tier armor. You're obviously risking more. It does provide better protection, but it's more of a risk because they're highly sought after. Stuff like that could really add to the game experience and be really cool, I think. Change number 4 could be an improved storyline. Now, if you look at games like, once again, Escape From Tarkov, the lore for the region and the whole game, the bosses, the Terror Group, the Novinsk region and everything that's happening within it, the PMCs from different factions and things like that, they've done really well hashing out the lore there to create that RPG sense of the game. The Cycle has a similar thing, I guess, with they talk about how they came to the planet for precious materials, etc., things like that. Probably not as much in that game, not that I know of anyways, but I know for sure Tarkov has a really well hashed out storyline. Now, it's pretty crazy to me considering that Call of Duty has one of the most incredible storyline, lore-based campaigns in the history of like first-person shooters. If you look at all of the Call of Duty series, there's just been an amazing character backstories built, and heroes and villains and famous and infamous missions and things like that all across the campaigns across the board of the Call of Duty series. And I feel like for Call of Duty going into DMZ, you'd think there would be more of a storyline, more lore hashed out. Now you get like little hints throughout the game of like the factions, you know, Black Moose, White Lotus, Legion, etc. And there is like audio hints and things like that, and then there's characters like the chemist in the game, but I don't think it's clear enough and hashed out enough, and it's definitely could be way better if they were to add more of a storyline, more of a progression of how things go, and you'd be able to introduce what Escape From Tarkov does and introduce events and things like that later, like special events that are related to the lore and stuff that affect gameplay and how the map is and things like that. There's so many opportunities with that, and I think surprisingly, being Call of Duty, it's quite crazy that they don't already have that. However, it would be absolutely amazing to see them really hash out a cool storyline and a bit of an RPG element for the DMZ mode and really make it its own game. That would be amazing. That's all for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you did enjoy the content, you think I made some good points, and you potentially would like to see more DMZ, Warzone, all of this sort of shooter related content, please feel free to click the subscribe button down below, click like on the video, give us a comment, let us know your thoughts. Obviously all of this stuff really helps out. I'm sure you guys know how YouTube works. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Big love.